Welcome back to News 9 Sunrise, everybody. Earlier this month in a News 9 special assignment, we told you about the Ohio Collaborative. It's a statewide board formed to help improve police-community relations.
Many of the policies deal specifically with communities of color and hiring more minority police officers. News 9's Rich Pierce brought you that story and has more.
As it stands, not many police departments in the Ohio Valley are certified. One reason: it's not mandatory. In fact, it would take an action from the state legislature to make it so. We spoke with 95th District Representative Don Jones about the issue. Why isn't certification for the Ohio Collaborative mandatory?
Well, the reason that we didn't make it mandatory, why it's not mandatory, there was no money to go with it. It's a great program. I think it's one that will benefit a lot of communities, but quite frankly, one of the problems we have when we make things mandatory from the state level is the question then comes about, where's the funds going to come from, or who's going to pay for that? And this was a project, I believe, was started by then Governor Kasich, great program, but just no money to support it.
Why isn't there funding for something like this to be mandatory? I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't looked at numbers. I haven't seen any estimates, but how expensive would something like this be, making this training and certification mandatory? Do you know how much that might cost and where the state could get that money?
So I have asked a question about body cams, and then, I've heard from $250 up to $700 per body camera. And the sad part about it is we can go back to the Kasich administration era, and there were a lot of cuts on local governments back then. And let's face it, they've been running on very tight budgets, and they've never been fully restored to where they were back at those times. And this budget cycle is going to be very difficult as well, especially with the pandemic. We don't have as many revenues coming in as what we've had in the past. But Rich, I think, to answer your question, we're going to start to probably see these types of programs become mandatory with some dollars attached. Will it be the full amount? I can't answer that.
We were talking to the president of the NAACP in Steubenville, Mike McIntyre, and he told us that he thinks this program is a step in the right direction, but without it being mandatory and without the teeth attached to it, that it's only a step in the right direction, a step that maybe has always been an option. So what do you tell communities of color, other communities that maybe feel disenfranchised and feel like the police don't always necessarily have their best interest at heart, and in places that relationship does need to be fixed?
Well, and every community is different, Rich, and he is right. It's a step in the right direction. And I hate to say this, so many times we have some programs that are established or thought of being a great program that comes out of the legislative process, but that's all the further they go. I mean, and I experienced this as a teacher, and I think with the law enforcement, it's a little bit different because, again, every community is different. And we have to make sure that, whether they're a person of color or they're not a person of color, that they have those same protections as everyone else.
We have more on this story, including our original look at the issue, linked with this interview on WTOV9.com. There you can find the full list of departments certified in our area. Reporting for News 9, I'm Rich Pierce.